On this edition of Gameball College Kickoff, we're going to recap the top 4 matchups that took place in Week 8 of the college football season. Also, coming up in the second segment, which power conference could be potentially left out of the 4-team college playoff. And of course, in segment number 3, we're going to bring to you the forecast of the top 4 matchups heading into Week 9 of the college season. Stick around. Gameball College Kickoff begins now. What's happening, everyone? Welcome to Gameball College Kickoff, where the football season never ends. I'm Marcus Young Genius Jenkins.
It's your boy, Michael Riley. And I'm Luke Hartnett.
All right, once again, the 3 amigos are in the building. We're going to start things off with the recap of Week 8 of the college football season, starting with the LSU Tigers beating Mississippi State by a score of 36-13. The Baylor Bears in an impressive win by a score of 45-27 over Oklahoma State. We'll get into that game here momentarily. Scrolling down, the Utah Utes continue to be impressive, Mike and Luke, during the course of football season. Coming up with another big win, 21-3 will be the score over Arizona State. And of course, head coach Herm Edwards, the coach of the Sun Devils. And then also momentarily, we'll talk about the score real quick. Penn State beating Michigan by a score of 28-21. Definitely we'll have some questions for that one. But we're going to back it up and go back into the Baylor 45-21 or 27 win over Oklahoma State. Luke, I'm going to kick it off to you. How impressed were you with Baylor's win over the Cowboys?
They might be the real deal, second best team in the Big 12 this year. They have road wins over Oklahoma State and K-State this year, both by double figures as well. They've been nothing short of impressive. They still have to play Texas and Oklahoma, down the stretch here. They're definitely the catbird seat. Down 20-10 at one point, I believe in the early third quarter. They outscored them, I think 35-7 from that point forward.
Yep.
So they really flexed when flexing was needed.
All right, now I'm gonna kick this one off to you, Mike. How impressed were you with Baylor?
Oh man, that coach that came in took over where all the scandal was going on with Baylor and all this stuff, and I just want to put it out there. People are still sensitive about it, even though it's going the right direction. You still got people don't support Baylor with all that stuff that's going on. So I just want to put that out there. That being said, it was very impressive. That coach knows what he's doing. He did the same thing when he was with Temple. Started from the ground up. Now he's bringing that mentality to Baylor, and they started buying into it, and especially bringing some of that old school I formation offense twist with some of that run pass option and all that. And them receivers from Baylor, they are dynamic daily. I mean, if Oklahoma and Baylor go undefeated, Oklahoma secondary's got that work cut out for him. And that Baylor rushing game, that running back is no joke. They get after it. And I like the Baylor defense, especially that front seven. They may not have talented players, but they're very disciplined and they're get after it. And they was able to get after Oklahoma State, even though they gave up a lot of rushing yards to Justin Herbert, but they were still able to affect the passer, cause a fumble, scoop the score for a touchdown. Overall, Baylor, they're the real deal this year. In Oklahoma State, I don't know what's wrong with them. They got off to a hot start, then they just fell off to a cliff. So they got to look into a mirror, do some adjustments. I don't know what's going on with Mike Gundy's team this year. They got a lot of cleaning up to do, offense, defense, and special teams.
All right, once again, Baylor, a huge win over the Cowboys, 45-21. We're going to go down back to Penn State, winning 28-21 over the Michigan Wolverines. Mike, I'm going to kick this one off to you first. How big of a win was this for Penn State?
It was a big win because if that Michigan receiver didn't drop the pass for a touchdown, we would have been in overtime. But they was up 14-0, then came 21-0. earlier at one point during the first quarter going to the second quarter, Michigan's defense looked as sloppy and they wasn't there, and the coach got after him, so they made some adjustments and all that and was able to step up and stop Penn State from scoring. Now offensively, they would hit on the brick wall and not do anything, had turnovers. Shane Patterson looked like he lost in that offense. So I don't know what's going on and all this other stuff. So then they was able to find a rhythm and get it going until that touchdown drop.
Yep.
That really cost Michigan this game, and it cost them the playoff berth. So Jim Harbaugh, this is his last season at Michigan. You might as well just say it now.
All right, Mike, I'm going to swing this one up to you. What do you think happened also, besides the drop pass, that cost Michigan this game?
I mean, Penn State, like Mike mentioned, was up 21-0, but I thought that they should just keep taking shots down the field there. I mean, they had the 21-0 lead, so they started to run the ball, and Saquon Barkley, he's done been gone a couple years from there now. If you got a stud like him in the backfield, by all means, but once Michigan started, I think they got that first score, I would have gone back to 0-0 and just start airing it out again. Like I said, the quarterback was getting the protection. The receivers were beating the defensive backs one-on-one. Michigan, I don't want to say they were lucky against Army and Iowa, but if those were two 50-50 games they would have won. They'd really be in a hole if they would have lost one or both of them. Got Notre Dame coming up this week. They still got Michigan State on the schedule. As always, the season finale against Ohio State. A lot of tough challenges for Michigan left, and I think I'm not going to jump on the get Harbaugh out yet, because I think if he can win, maybe they got to beat Notre Dame. They got to beat Notre Dame, and if they can beat Ohio State, he saves his job.
All right, and speaking of that game against Notre Dame, we will talk about that matchup in the third segment. Once again, Penn State overcoming the Michigan Wolverines by a score of 28-21, and that's going to do it for our first segment. Coming up in our second segment, which conference could potentially be left out of the 14 college playoff? Mike and Luke will talk about that in our second segment. You don't want to miss that, but Gameball calls Kickoff. We'll return in a moment. What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to Gameball Cards Kickoff. Now, in the second segment, we're going to discuss which conference could potentially be left out of the 14 college playoff. Luke, I would like to start with you on this one. Which conference do you feel like could potentially be left out?
I think at surface value, it had to be the Pac-12. You're going to need Utah or Oregon to win out. Basically, they don't play each other regular season, if I'm not mistaken. So if they can both meet 11-1 in the Pac-12 championship game, that'd be a big plus for them. They're also going to need Notre Dame to lose another game as well. I understand they lost to Georgia this year. They lost to Georgia last year as well, still made the playoff. I can't say the ACC because I think Clemson is just that much of a slam dunk. So they're actually I know SEC is like it seemed like a more obvious pick because they got more top 10 teams in that conference. But we don't know that any of those. I mean, even Alabama's not as much of a lock for the college playoff as Clemson is, in my opinion, due to a lack of schedule down the stretch there. And the Big Ten, they're kind of treading water with Ohio State. I don't think after Wisconsin lost to Illinois this past weekend. Take that back. Penn State is still unbeaten as well, so Penn State's kind of they got the number one challenger in the Big Ten, if you will. So on the surface, I'll say the Pac-12.
All right, Mike, do you agree with that, or do you have a different conference?
I'm going to jump on board with that. It's going to come down to between Utah and Oregon winning out the rest of the season, because that loss against USC hurt Utah. I mean, if they would have won, it would have been okay. But that loss to USC hurt Utah. And Notre Dame right now is on the outside in the bubble, possibly looking in. If both teams lose, then Notre Dame replaces the Pac-12 since they're independent football only. And also, you can make a case for Notre Dame. If Notre Dame loses to Michigan, they're out of the conversation. So they have to win out as well. So right now, I will say both on the outside looking in with the Pac-12 and Notre Dame with the independent. So it just have to, all three teams has to win out. And this week with Notre Dame at Michigan, Michigan's looking to be Mr. Grinch and explore early Christmas. So if Notre Dame finishes out unbeaten for the rest of the stretch, then their hopes is still up in the air. If both teams lose in the Pac-12, then Notre Dame replaces that, and Notre Dame is in, and the Pac-12's out. So right now, I would have to say both Notre Dame and the Pac-12.
Real strong chance the SEC could get 2 in as well. It kind of depends on how well the Alabama-LSU game goes. I think the loser of that, should they show well. Remember, LSU, they lost 20-0 at home last year. They can't afford that again this year and expect to get in. Georgia's not completely out either. If they run the table and win we can pretty much agree whoever wins the SEC championship game is going to be in the college football playoff. That's pretty much a given for we don't know who that team's going to be, but that depends on one of those teams in. I want to touch back to the Pac-12 again right quick there. The funny thing about Utah is they can go 11-1 and not win the conference, or maybe the division. You mentioned they lost to USC. Well, USC, they're a 3-loss team. They lost the conference game at Washington, but they lost to independent BYU. They lost to independent Notre Dame as well. So you'd have a 9-3 South Division champion over 11-1 Utah because they took the head-to-head. So winning may not be enough for Utah at this point. They go 11-1 and don't win the South Division. They don't have much of a chance to begin with. That would really make it null and void.
Yeah. And also, I could say that team that could get in, and I want to bring this off a little bit, that team that could get into the college football playoff, if they win out, don't forget the Baylor Bears. If they win out and win the Big 12, you have to consider them in the college football playoff.
And it's interesting that you bring it up because talking about this and looking at it, I was thinking the Big 12 could potentially have a team, and I like that you mentioned Baylor, and I was thinking that if any conference would have potential but would end up being overlooked, my pick was the Big 12. I think Utah this year is potentially what Notre Dame was last year, that team that kind of came out of nowhere, started coming with big wins. Obviously, this is another big one with them in Arizona State. But
and another thing that could really wreck the playoff is, was Wisconsin losing to Illinois over the weekend. And more than likely, and Iowa already has the 2 losses. So I understand Minnesota's 7-0. Shout out to the Gophers. But in all likeliness, if the Big Ten West Division champion wins the Big Ten championship game, they could get left out as well.
That's a good point. And that's going to do it for our second segment. Coming up, of course, our big forecast, the top 4 matchups to look out for in Week 9 of the college football season. Gameball College Kickoff will return in a moment. What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to Gameball College Kickoff. In our third and final segment, we bring you the forecast, and that is the top 4 matchups to look out for in Week 9 of the college season, starting with the Wisconsin Badgers. We know they were upset by Illinois over the weekend, taking on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Luke, I'm going to start with you first. What do you like about this matchup?
Going back to our last segment, just because Wisconsin lost this past weekend, if they go on and run the table, go 12-1, they could potentially have 2 wins over Ohio State. They would almost be in the playoff too, you'd have to imagine. Games at Columbus. I'm not a big fan of this starting at noon Eastern time. I don't really. This should be the 6:30 ABC game, in my opinion. But contrast the styles here. Wisconsin shut out 4 of their first 7 opponents. Ohio State, they're averaging, just kind of spitballing, probably 50 points a game. I know they hung 70 a few times already. So, what's it called? The unstoppable object versus the immovable force or whatever it is. So, No, I mean, it's going to be strength on strength when Ohio State has the ball. I think the real difference in the game is going to be what happens when Wisconsin has the ball offensively. Ohio State's going to game plan to stop, Jonathan Taylor. What's their plan B going to be?
It's a good question. Mike, I'm going to send this one out to you. What do you like about this matchup?
Well, like he was saying, Wisconsin's coming off that upset loss at home against Illinois. They looked bad and pathetic, and they gave up 2 big plays. They couldn't make plays to win the game, and Illinois was the better team. Now, it's going to be strength versus speed. Wisconsin's strength versus Ohio State's speed. And 9 times out of 10, Ohio State's speed always beats Wisconsin's strength. So how you going to stop that? And for Wisconsin, you got to worry about stopping Ohio State offense. And Justin Fields, that quarterback, he is something special right now. He's throwing the ball very efficient and well. He can also beat you with his legs. It's just like, how you stop Justin Fields? It's just like, this kid's on another level right now. And the defense for Ohio State and that edge rusher, Chase Young, he's going to be a top 10 pick for a reason. So if Wisconsin can find a way to slow down Ohio State's offense, force some 3 and outs, then offensively, you got to play time of possession, melt that clock, and force Ohio State's offense to sit on the bench. If you could do that, Wisconsin can win this game.
All right, the Wisconsin Badgers looking, of course, to bounce back against Ohio State over the weekend. That's gonna take us to the Big 12 Conference. Mike, I'm gonna start with you. Oklahoma taking on Kansas State. What do you like about this matchup in the Big 12?
Well, Oklahoma's on fire on all cylinders, and their defense has improved offensively. Ever since Jalen Hurts came to Oklahoma, they've been on another level. And the receiver, Marcus Lamb, he's projected to go in the top 10 NFL draft, and you see why. He is a definition of a true receiver, and he's also a good returner as well. If Oklahoma's defense can step up and slow down and stop Kansas State's offense, then they're going to do what they're going to do. But you cannot overlook Kansas State in Manhattan, because every time Oklahoma plays Kansas State in Manhattan, it's always a closer game than what you think. So you can't overlook Kansas State, because Kansas State is looking to play that physical football, take time of possession on the clock, and they are very disciplined on defense. Now, defensively, you're going to have to play gap assignment football. You're going to have a spying on Jalen Hurts. If you can do that, then you'll be fine, because Jalen Hurts, he can beat you throwing it and he can beat you running. He's not going to beat himself. So you have to stop that. And Kansas State offense, take advantage of what the defense gives you and be aggressive and take some shots down the field. Do not be scared and try to put Oklahoma on their heels.
All right, Luke, I'm going to swing this one to you. This is your squad taking on Oklahoma. What do you like about this matchup?
I like a lot about this matchup. 5 senior offensive linemen. You got a junior quarterback that's well experienced there. You got a 3-headed monster at running back. Some pretty good transfers in there. Malik Knowles, he seems to be healthy again. He missed the Oklahoma State game. I believe he was playing less than 100% against Baylor. They had a bye week before Oklahoma State and after Baylor as well, so they kind of had two bye weeks the last 4 weeks. For the most part, they're a rested team. I think TCU is a decent team. They beat them. I understand that the quarterback Matt Dugan for TCU kind of ran a little bit more than expected on them. For the most part, he's not a running quarterback though. That was TCU finding a weakness in the K-State defense there. Gary Patterson, he's not stupid. He knows football. He knows K-State was preparing for a passing quarterback that week. He went the other way with it. K-State knows what they're getting themselves into here. Best punter and place kicker in the Big 12 for my money in this one. Mike mentioned the home crowd. This is the game where I actually do like the 11 a.m. start. You look at the last 2 weeks, Georgia and Wisconsin lost 11 a.m. Central Time kickoffs. Like this coach that K-State has there, he seems to be a big-time guy. The players seem to like playing for him. He's never wavered, even after the 2-game losing streak. They're a 4-2 team. They're at home. They spent a week or two in the top 25. Good team that Oklahoma's playing here. K-State's going to need help. Hurts, he was leading the touchdown drive in the second quarter against Texas. Fumbled the ball after about a 30-some-yard run. 7-7 second quarter against Kansas. Those would have been a surefire pick six to Mike Lee. Kansas is up 14-7 if it's not dropped. So K-State's got to be able to capitalize on that, and they basically, I mean, K-State doesn't have to score first. They stay within a score, 10 points tops. If they could be a 7-10 point game going into the fourth quarter, I like their chances.
All right, Kansas State at home against Oklahoma. I think this is also definitely going to be a sleeper game, in my opinion, for the week. That's going to take us to the SEC, and that is the Auburn Tigers and the LSU Tigers squaring off. Luke, I want to kick this one to you first. What do you like about this SEC matchup?
I like a lot about it. I think LSU kind of got lucky playing Florida when they did because they had to play the same Auburn team the week before. This Auburn team, they played Arkansas last week, won 51-10. That was a banged-up Florida team that came into LSU there and still managed to get a 28-21 lead, after their after their first possession, second half touchdown. Unfortunately, it was the last touchdown the Gators would score, and they would ultimately succumb 42-28 in that. I don't think this game will be quite as high scoring. Of course, I always say that about LSU. I picked LSU to lose to Texas. I picked them to lose to Florida. At this point, if I pick Auburn in this one, LSU fans should just be thanking me at this moment because it's just something about Coach Orgeron. I like Gus Malzahn as the coach for Auburn in this one. After 29-0 against Alabama last year, I just feel like the moment I buy into LSU, it's going to bite me.
All right, definitely, this is a big matchup, obviously. Mike, I'm going to kick this one to you. What do you like about this matchup?
Everything. It's going to be Auburn's defense versus LSU's high-flying offense because LSU is putting up numbers like it ain't nothing. This is the best LSU offense I have seen. I think it's way better than when Jamarcus Russell and the crew was going back in the day. That offense is high power. That running game is going. And Joe Burrow, the quarterback from LSU, is something special. Right now, he is the leaderboard for the Heisman, and you see why. He is just throwing dimes like it ain't nothing. That offensive line is playing sensational. And that defense for LSU, they have 3 to 4 potential first-round secondaries going in the draft. It's just like they're loaded with talent in that area. And I like their front seven. They just get after people. And it's going to cause Auburn problems. And the thing I don't like about Auburn is the freshman quarterback, Bo Nix, going to that very hostile environment. Death Valley is going to be loud, rowdy. And this is heavyweight fight game of the year. It's going to come down to which team defense can step up and make a play to win this game.
All right, the big question would be with this one, would this be the game where Bo Nix is actually exposed as a freshman quarterback in this one with that lack of experience? So that's going to be a fun game to watch without a question about it. Michigan, Notre Dame, 2 teams also having a lot to play for. Like we talked about with Michigan, Jim Harbaugh may be on the hot seat. There's a lot at stake with the Michigan Wolverines taking on Notre Dame. Mike, I want to squeeze this one to you first. What do you like about Notre Dame and Michigan?
Well, that loss to Georgia is Notre Dame is looking better and better as the season goes. That loss might not hurt them that bad after all. So they just got to keep playing with what they keep doing, physical running style, smash around defense, and be consistent in the passing game. You can't overlook Michigan because Michigan is playing to ruin somebody's Christmas now. They are out of the college football playoff. Their coach is definitely on the hot seat, burning temperatures, thousands of degrees or something. I'm just exaggerating.
His baby can't sit down pretty much.
Exactly. So it's really, really hot. So they got a lot to play for. They're going to play for pride and play for the coach and try to get into a right bowl game. So Notre Dame going to that hostile environment in Michigan, they cannot overlook them. And just say this is a cakewalk, because if you think that you got this game on lock, chances are Michigan can beat you and you're out of the college football playoff.
All right, once again, a lot of things at stake. What do you like about this matchup, Luke?
It's Michigan and Notre Dame. It's everything that's great about college football. I mean, when I first got into football, I remember back in the late 80s there was Rocket Ismail running kicks back for Notre Dame. Then a year or two later, you got Desmond Howard running kicks back for Michigan. So absolutely love the Golden Domes and the Wing Tips when they get on the same field together. Two best bands in the land as far as I'm concerned. Night game, Michigan Stadium, going to probably be 115,000 or so people there. Notre Dame, I think, is a more complete team here, just a better. They both stack up well defensively. I think Notre Dame's a little more balanced offensively, though. Like Ian Book is a quarterback there. He mentioned the Georgia game. As far as I'm concerned, that game was more or less. I mean, they were down 6. They had the ball. Georgia made a stop. I mean, somebody had to win. Someone had to lose. All intent and purposes, they played them even up, though. But no, I mean, Michigan falls behind 21-0 like they did last week. That's awfully tough to come back from against anybody.
All right, and Mike, I'm gonna kick. We already talked about that one. This is actually gonna take us to the predictions part of the episode, starting with Wisconsin and Ohio State. Mike, I'm gonna kick this one to you. Who do you like?
I got Ohio State. Ohio State is too much for Wisconsin's defense. How are you going to stop Justin Fields, the quarterback, and Chase Young, the pass rusher on defense? And they got playmakers everywhere. So it's going to be difficult for Wisconsin to stop them. So I say Ohio State wins this one big. I'm going to say 38-20.
All right, Luke, do you agree with that score, or do you see this one different?
I think it's going to be more your typical Big Ten football game here. As much as we rave about Justin Fields and that Ohio State offense, the Ohio State defense, they've been beyond impressive. Held Michigan State to 10 points a few weeks ago. I think that the Ohio State defense, they buck up and get it done here. I'm sold on Wisconsin on the defensive side of the ball. Not sure. I mean, it's not that they got like the Texas-Kansas game where they gave up 48 points and lost that way. I mean, Illinois had to kick a last-second field goal, finish with 24-23 there. I think Wisconsin, they lay out a blueprint that might be able to help teams, Penn State, Michigan, etc., beat Ohio State, but they don't quite pull it off. I'm going to go 20-17 Ohio State. That's going to be a good close game.
I agree with that one as well. Now, Wisconsin, we already know they're going to have, a lot to play for. They're bouncing back off an upset, obviously, against Illinois. A lot of emotion going into this game. But I still say they're not Ohio State. I think Ohio State is going to win this one. I say 28-17 in this one. I like the Buckeyes. Second matchup, going to the Big 12. Luke, I'm going to start with you first. Do you think Kansas State wins, or does Oklahoma prevail?
I got to go with K-State in this one. If I don't believe in my team, how can I expect them to believe in themselves?
There you go.
I mean, the way I look at it, no disrespect to Kansas, but they went 4 quarters with the Texas team. They went 4 quarters with Oklahoma. Kansas played really well that first half against Oklahoma as well. Texas played well for the whole 4 quarters against Oklahoma. It's possible this could be the best team Oklahoma's played at this point. It's undoubtedly the best team K-State's played at this point in the season. But we've seen it the last 2 weeks. September was kind of dry with the upsets there. The heavyweight thing, that top 10, not a whole lot of movement in that top 10 that first month of the season. So I think K-State shakes it up. I think Baylor wakes up Sunday morning in first place. K-State 31-30. They got the best kicker in the conference, Blake Lynch. He booms one at near the gun.
All right, Mike, what do you see about this matchup?
I'm going the other way around. I'm going with Oklahoma. It's just that Oklahoma offense is dynamic. The running game's coming along. Jalen Hurts, he is putting up numbers like it ain't nothing. And I don't see the secondary doing enough to stop CeeDee Lamb, the wide receiver for Oklahoma. So I'm going to say Oklahoma wins this one. I'm going to say 45-30.
Ooh, high scoring game.
I like how you mentioned CeeDee Lamb there. I think K-State's got a solid in a front 7. They're going to get Hurts pressure there. I think they take their chances. They go one-on-one with Lamb and say beat us that way. So they're either going to step up or get burned. There's no in between.
Good points for both of you. This, like I said, this is my sleeper matchup for me, honestly. I think this is one that's going to be overlooked. This is a great game in Manhattan. Either way you look at it, I think it's going to provide a lot of highlights. I agree that it's going to be close. I think it's going to come down to the 4th quarter. I'm going to give this one, I'm going to say 35-28. I think Kansas State is going to pull off a big rally at the end and come up with a W. All right, moving on to the SEC. Luke, I'm going to start with you on this one. Auburn, LSU. Which Tiger team you got?
I'm going to go with the home team and LSU in this one. I mean, I know there's no transparency rule in football. just because Florida beat Auburn and LSU beat Florida means LSU's going to beat Auburn. I think they're going to win for other reasons there. Now, the hostile environment, first of all, Auburn's one of the more hostile places in the SEC for their home games. Florida's right up there, too. I've always been a big fan of the Swamp. So they know what they're getting into there. But it's what Mike was saying earlier. That LSU offense is just – the fact that they put 42 points on the Florida defense is just – 21 per half, too. So it's not like they just had like a – no defensive or special team scores against the Gators. It was all offense, just 3 touchdowns first half, 3 touchdowns second half. Very balanced. They can run the ball. Burrow's got it going on with their passing game. I do think Auburn does manage to keep the score somewhat in check, but I got LSU 24-17.
All right. Mike, what do you say about the score of LSU and Auburn?
I got LSU winning 31-17 because LSU is on another level. And where they're at home, it's something special when LSU is playing at home. We've seen that for the season now. And when they're at home, they are a different animal. They're just clicking on all cylinders, offense, defense, and special teams. And I just don't see Bo Nix, the freshman quarterback, doing much enough, especially in a hostile environment to where all that pressure is coming on you. He handled it against Oregon, but that was on neutral field. You're going to Death Valley at LSU. So I just don't think that Auburn's going to do enough. And I'm just going to say LSU wins this one 31-17.
LSU, they're susceptible on defense. Gave it 28 to Florida with a backup quarterback, 38 to Texas. Bo Nix I'm okay with. I don't think Auburn has the playmakers, though, to really score on them the way the other teams have.
I agree with the both of you. I'm going with LSU on this one as well. I think this is the game where Bo Nix does look like a freshman. This is the biggest test that he's had thus far. I like LSU winning this one at home. I'm going to give them a score. I will say I'll give them 35-17 at home. And the last matchup of the night, Mike, I'll give this one to you. Who do you like between Notre Dame and Michigan?
I like Notre Dame in a very close game. It's going to be a sluggish fist fight. And Michigan is looking to play spoiler and try to ruin Notre Dame's college football playoff dreams. But I seen Notre Dame doing slightly enough, get the W on the road in a hostile environment of Michigan. So I'm going to say Notre Dame gets a field goal range, kicks the winning field goal 20-17, Notre Dame on the road.
All right, Luke, I'm going to kick this one to you. Do you think Notre Dame keeps their playoff hopes alive?
Yeah, I hope it's that good of a game. We're going to find out really what Michigan's made of. They fall behind 2 scores early again like they did last week or more. I think you're going to see you're going to see the tenfold. It could be one of those ugly 45-10 games. The games at Michigan, it is a night game. They're kind of playing for a lot more than pride. The East Division seems a little out of reach here, but they so much nostalgia with them and Notre Dame. I just think Notre Dame is just too much of a better football team. I got Notre Dame by a fairly comfortable 31-20 margin.
31-20. There's something about this game. I'm going to go with my gut instinct in this one. I'm actually going to go with my heart, and I'm going to say Michigan is going to pull this one off at home, and they're going to play spoiler because they do have a lot to play for. They're bouncing back off of a loss that they could have potentially won against Penn State. They're looking to avenge that loss at home and play spoiler on top of that, plus with the coach being on the hot seat. I'm going to go with the Wolverines 21-28 at home. And that's going to do it for this episode of Gameball College Kickoff. Social media, you can find me on Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter at JovelENT, and you can also find me on Facebook as Marcus Jovel ENT Jenkins.
Social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Gmail, YouTube. You can follow all where it says right here on this side. It'll be on your left side. And don't forget to get our clothing line on our clothing web store at gameballshop.ecway.com. That is gameball.ecway.com. Get your gear and everything, fitness, all the above. And I'm going to pass it on to Luke.
Find me on Facebook at Luke Hartnett. Find me anywhere in downtown Kansas City at a local sports bar near you on the weekends watching the football games. Find me on Twitter, Luke Hartnett 2.
I'm Marcus Young Genius Jenkins.
It's your boy, Michael Riley.
And I'm Luke Hartnett.
And once again, that's going to do it for this episode of Gameball College Kickoff. And also for you NFL fans, no better way to find your NFL fix, Gameball NFL End Zone later this week as well. We'll see you then.